What you're looking at is the fifth dryer that was manufactured by Lloyd Weaver in Rapid City, South Dakota. I bought the fifth dryer he ever made. There it is, number 5. I still own it.
Oh, dang.
Only here on the DYOJO Podcast, folks.
The inventor, the DYOJO Podcast.
Another historical figure, Lloyd Weaver. Lloyd introduced the first specialty design porta-dryer for on-location wet carpet drying.
He worked for years getting the pressures correct on his carpet fan.
As you can see, it's handmade. That was manufactured by Lloyd Weaver in Rapid City, South Dakota in the 70s. The reason I know that is because I bought this dryer from Lloyd Weaver in New York. Now it's clear there are millions of these things around the world today, but that's number 5. There it is, number 5.
While that might not seem like much in today's sophisticated world, 35 years ago, this was written in 2007, founding fathers of restoration.
And then someone will ask him, how do you know when you have enough? He says, when you blow a fuse, you take one out.
Lloyd's methodology challenged the rug cleaning establishment in its in-plant wet carpet service. Lloyd also infuriated the fire restoration establishment as he encouraged carpet cleaners to diversify.
The electrical connection there, some wires strung around on the intake, and this handmade snoot. What this is a standard motor that belongs in the plenum of an air conditioning system. When I bought this, I had a company called Service King, so I labeled it there. And then in 1979, I changed the name of the company from Service King to Disaster Masters. That still exists today. And this little fan right here has had its work cut out for it. Originally it had a little stand on the bottom to keep it even, but that disappeared a long time ago because I used this thing for years.
PropertyRestorationHistory.com.
So next time you see a fan anywhere in your yard, your truck, in front of a gas station, or being used by some fire damage, water damage restoration company, think about this one right here. This is what began the entire snoot fan industry. I'm Ron Alford.
Hi, everybody out there, DYOJO Nation.
DYOJO is the Do Your Own Job Dojo.
Sweep the leg.
Curated by Jon Isaacson, contractor,
Can I inspect your home?
author,
There's nothing like it out there.
and mediocre podcast host.
Nicely done on keeping it together.
The DYOJO Podcast.
Should be listening to you.
Helping contractors shorten their dang learning curve. As he introduced himself,
I'm Ron Alford.
is the voice here we're talking to. And if you've been listening or watching the DYOJO podcast for any period of time, you know that we love to pay homage to our property restoration history. PropertyRestorationHistory.com. Boom. You have this wonderful display, some articles, and one of the ones we highlight, one of the ones that helped get me interested in finding the people I've found that have helped me put pieces of this together for restoration history, is this restoration and remediation article from Michelle Blevins.
It's fine.
A brief walk through RAA history from March 15th of 2016. And in this photo, you can see these men were affectionately coined the Restoration Goodfellas.
Restoration machines!
So you got some nice, deep, rich mahogany burgundy walls. Looks like that might be real thick wallpaper. Looks like they're all enjoying a beverage, probably at an industry event. And so you've got Restoration Goodfellas from left to right. Ron.
I'm Ron Alford.
Alfie Alford with a nice mustache there. We got Major Long, who unfortunately is no longer with us, a very fashionable mustache. And Cliff Zlotnick, who you'll often see still at industry events, sporting his youthful mustache.
In our industry, people look for the highest tech solution rather than the lowest tech solution. And I think we should look for the lowest tech solution that'll work first before we go to any higher tech solution.
PropertyRestorationHistory.com.
the New York Rug Cleaners Association.
Okay. You'll have to excuse the background noise in the audio. We're recording from the GoPro. I had a recorder. I believe I've lost that recorder. Dang it! But this is Alfie and I sitting down at the Restoration Industry Association event in 2023.
I learned through that group about this organization called AIDS. And I said, well, let me go to one of those conventions like this one we're at today.
Yeah.
That's when I met Cliff.
If you didn't catch all of that, Ron says he was a part of the New York Rug Cleaners Association. And through that networking and education group, he found out about AIDS, which is the precursor to the RIA. The acronym AIDS stood for the Association of Interior Decor Specialists. He went to a convention for AIDS sometime in the late 60s, early 70s in New York. And that's where he met industry icons Cliff Zlotnick and Lloyd Weaver. So for some modern context, a name that many people in water damage circles are familiar with, Ken Larson. He's going to provide some of his comments from a prior podcast when we were talking about the history of water damage, the standards, and in particular Lloyd Weaver.
I knew who he was. The name Lloyd Weaver was, synonymous with the drying industry as it emerged in the early 70s.
PropertyRestorationHistory.com. So Lloyd created the porta dryer, or like Ron Alfie says, the snout fan.
This is what began the entire snoot fan industry.
But the name for many years that was associated with water damage equipment has been Dry Ease, and that was the founder, Claude Blackburn.
I could tell you a few stories about Lloyd because once I got into the business, he was very aggressive. I mean, one time he was going to beat me up.
Well, you eventually became his competition, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, a few years later, but really I bought a couple of pieces of equipment, went to a seminar, and I never had any dealings with Lloyd after that.
Not all history is beautiful, but, or clean, and not all of our heroes always got along.
Worked for years getting the pressures correct on his carpet fan.
About property restoration history, then the path will almost always lead you back to Pete Consigli.
Hi, everybody out there, JoJo Nation. This is the Global Watchdog, Pete Consigli.
And Cliff, who quietly will correct him when necessary. Not too often, but when necessary. So here's Pete talking about Lloyd innovated water damage, but maybe what a lot of people don't know is he also innovated in another area.
But what Lloyd did after that was a very innovative thing when he started with the dust downs. The whole dust down process was really the beginning of what a lot of early mold remediators did in the 90s in order to get clearance, right? But he did this that was the beginning of the indoor air quality industry in the 90s, which was another rabble-rousing industry. He never really gets the credit in the early days of IOQ that Lloyd contributed to that, but he contributed a lot, okay? And his son, Lance, he had several sons, but his son, Lance, was a professional engineer. And they opened up the whole robotics industry. They operate in 52 countries, and he has patents all over the place on all those little robots that go into the ductwork and to do all that stuff. And that's all really, really important part of that.
PropertyRestorationHistory.com.
I bought the 5th dryer he ever made. I still own it.
Oh, dang.
Right?
Yeah. You have to send me a picture. Alford gained fame in the industry in the 70s and 80s doing high-profile projects for celebrity clients and his interviews on broadcast TV morning shows. Got a property restoration book hug moment.
Book hug moment. We got the hugger in the house.
You see in my hands a copy of Ron Alford's How to Win the Insurance Claim Game, the ultimate guide to claim management and disaster recovery for property owners. Inside information, tips, checklists, and forms for property owners who are or may become victims of water, fire, or wind damage.
This is not a game, cupcakes!
I think it was 1966. I had sold so much insurance that they wanted to give me an award.
1992, and it's still available on Amazon. So if you want to learn more about Ron, eccentric and innovative past, as well as some of the lessons that he's learned that he's applied to the businesses he's built.
And that's part of the thing I learned, how the insurance worked from that side.
Yeah.
Again.
There you go. How to win the insurance claim game.
And I come to find out that I was being paid 50% of what I was worth. I ultimately walked in the office one day and I said to the district manager, I said, "So long, Charlie.
Yeah.
I'm done."
PropertyRestorationHistory.com. We want to thank our sponsor.
I will not bow to any sponsor.
Epic Estimates. Any estimate, anywhere, anytime. Let the award-winning Epic Estimates help your team write the next Xactimate or Symbility estimate, freeing your team up to do what they're good at while helping your business maximize productivity and profitability. The Restoration Industry Association. Connect and collaborate with your industry peers through the largest nonprofit professional trade association dedicated to the unique plight of restoration contractors. Join us April 8th through 10th, 2024 in Dallas, Texas for the RIA Convention and Industry Expo. Actionable insights. They now have an Xactimate profile similar to the contractor and carrier profiles that come with Xactimate. Along with access to all the insights sheet macros, the profile includes Actionable's industry standard default preferences that focus on accurate and transparent estimating. The Actionable Xactimate profile will help you make fewer mistakes and guide you to include all of the warranted line items. How to suck less at estimating. Habits for better project outcomes. Book number 4 by Jon Isaacson. This is available in paperback as well as an interactive course available through our friends at Restoration Technical Institute. Gain valuable insights on setting your estimating team up for success, processes and procedures for good sketches, detailed photo documentation for claims, how to level up as an estimator, and field resources such as using Xactimate for materials list and budgeting. By taking the 6-module course, again through our friends at Restoration Technical Institute, you can gain 6 hours of self-paced instruction that are eligible for continuing education credits with the IICRC. Thank you to our sponsors. Please let them know that you heard about them on the DYOJO Podcast.
You have entered the DYOJO Podcast.
We really appreciate the ongoing dialogue that we have with the people at Rest, what I would call robust dialogue.
Robust dialogue.
Robust dialogue.
Right, this is an open market. You can determine what your price is.
In May of 2023, our friend Michelle Blevins at CNR Magazine had Aaron Brunko, Verisk's newly promoted president of Property Estimating Solutions, formerly known as Xactware. For those of you that missed it,
this is an open market. You can determine what your price is.
Some people say, "Hey, Aaron Brunko at Verisk Xactimate said I could say whatever my price is, whatever I want."
Somebody can choose whether they accept that price.
Oh, Aaron Brunko, just when I thought I liked you, dang it!
And maybe push back on it.
Even if you took insurance out of the equation, I might still have to negotiate and explain things to people. Shoot!
That's really not our place, is to say whether somebody should or should not, in an open market, accept a price.
DYOJO Podcast!
Did you hear what he said? Probably didn't like that, right? Dang it! Even you take insurance out of the game, you still gotta explain what you're charging for and why, and work that out with the customer. Dare we say, negotiate. Dang it! But if that rattles your feathers, listen to this story or parts thereof.
The Xactimate user license agreement contains some really super important information for restorers that they need to use to kind of level the playing field when they're dealing with adjusters who try to use Xactimate as if it were the 10 Commandments.
You want a recap of what those key provisions are, according to Ed Cross, the restoration lawyer. You'll have to go back and listen to episode 117 of the DYOJO Podcast.
Well, on Friday night, before I was getting ready to come out here to Dallas, I went on to look at the Xactimate user license agreement, which you can find by typing into your browser Xactware license agreement, those provisions were gone.
This is not okay.
So we are in regular communication with the leadership at Verisk, what I would call robust dialogue.
Robust dialogue.
Robust dialogue. Agreed to restore those provisions back into the agreement and put it back.
If you missed the last episode of the DYOJO Podcast, episode 117, I think you really missed out on a doozy. We recap some of what took place at the Restoration Industry Association, RIA, Convention and Trade Show 2024 in Dallas, Texas. And of particular note, an apology from the stage from Aaron Brunko and Xactimate Verisk.
He worked with his schedule, thankfully, and he agreed to come, and he came up on stage today, and he explained what had happened. He apologized to the restoration industry. That really meant a lot. Very thankful to Aaron Brunko for changing his plans and coming here to Dallas.
So you want to be a project manager? A project manager?
According to consensus data from
Engineering News,
the average size of a construction company is 20 people
or less.
Recently gave presentations on project management for
the National Association of Home Builders and the Restoration Industry Association.
Number one questions that small business owners were asking is what
CRM,
customer relationship management software, did I recommend?
Even though one of the points of my presentation is in order to be effective, your
CRM doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It just has to have the information accessible to all. One super simple way that we've found that helps small construction companies have some clarity, consistency, and accountability in their production process is what we call the DYOJO tracker. Many of those principles come out of our best-selling book.
So you want to be a project manager?
By Jon Isaacson. It's available on Amazon. We've actually added some updated information.
A project manager.
General mindset, habits that will help you be successful as a project manager.
We have bi-monthly meetings. The pricing task force and I have bi-monthly meetings with the senior leadership at Verisk as well as the senior leadership at CoreLogic, where we bring contractors' concerns to their attention. Say, hey, here are some issues, and can you guys please take a look at these? This is a slow process. We didn't get here overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight.
What the hell are we doing here, Harry?
A lot of headway since 2019 and the AGA inception.
Wow, And Mark Springer did such a fantastic job this morning, kind of recounting the history and talking about all of the things, the crises and the emergencies, the different things that have happened over the years. And it was kind of a nostalgic moment. And, you know, he got the standing ovation that he richly deserves.
Hello, I'm Mark Springer with Dayspring Restoration. You may remember me as the guy who flooded my home. Well, I'm at it again, except this time we are partnering with the Rural Missoula Fire Department to conduct a carefully planned fire in my kitchen.
One of the things to remember looking back, we all started somewhere. So Mark Springer, who has become a known entity within the industry, and his contributions, and especially spearheading a time when the Advocacy and Government Affairs Committee, the AGA, has come to into vision into reality. But looking back, you know, when he was just, you know, the manager of Dayspring Restoration. And so take some encouragement. One thing that's also encouraging about our industry is many of these initiatives and the work that's done is done by volunteers, fellow restorers, and needs to be done by restorers. You know, for restorers, by restorers, of restorers.
I think that we're having discussions in many cases for the first time about the right things.
So in 2019, you released the manifesto, right? Our greatest need.
So if you're not 100% up to speed with what we're talking about, if you Google Our Greatest Need, Mark Springer, there's this link to the Restoration Industry Association website, Our Greatest Need. That's the article.
There's a sense of us being overwhelmed. It's like, where do we even begin?
Yeah.
How do we eat this elephant of, all these issues where contractors' voice has not been heard?
There's also a link to an RAA town hall. You spoke, we listened. Restorers are not speaking for restorers. In his recent article, Our Greatest Need, RAA President-elect Mark Springer said, and then that's where it launches into that.
I mean, I am so incredibly humbled by how so many people have really found that this nerve that we all feel has been hit, and have said, this is something that we all believe could change and could impact our industry. And
we got the early restoration advocacy reports that were in R&R magazine. And then, that's nice, my article, A History of Collaboration, A Future of Advocacy, that was an interview, a print interview with Ed Cross, one of the first interviews we did for the DYOJO Podcast. So, DYOJO Podcast! If you click on Our Greatest Need, there's a link to a prior CNR article, Contractors, It's Time to Take a Stand, from December of 2018.
And it's incredible how many people have jumped into this, have taken their time and their resources to advance something that can really make a better world for all of us.
Stop picking fly out of pepper!
If restoration companies are unwilling to unite, advocate for sustainable claims practices, and take a proactive approach with insurance carrier claims policies, then the restoration industry as we know it will cease to exist within a decade.
Yeah. And really the underlying premise for this AGA effort, which stands for Advocacy and Government Affairs, is that the restoration industry needs to first unify around the most important issues that we face as an industry, and we need to have a voice for the interests that we need to have represented so that this industry is sustained in the future. So really the big things are unity, and then voice and sustainability, those three pieces. And what we've seen is just incredible traction around identifying these important issues that affect us in this larger ecosystem, and biting this elephant and attacking it one bite at a time. I think that we're having discussions in many cases for the first time about the right things. We're talking about the things that a lot of times I think people can complain about and stuff, but we're actually talking about how do we solve these problems.
Hopefully you're aware by now, our fifth book, P2T, Preparing to Thrive in the Modern Workplace, is now available on Amazon. This is Resources for Young Pros, book number 1. I'm going to share a really nice review we received online on Amazon.
P2T, Preparing to Thrive in the Modern Workplace, is a comprehensive guide that serves as a playbook for both young professionals entering the workforce and managers who are tasked with leading them. This book, designed as the first in a series of easy readers, is a valuable resource anchor that bridges the gap between academic preparation and the practical skills needed in today's rapidly evolving job market. Isaacson has designed this reader with accessible language, especially for English learners, and 2 to 3 page-long chapters. This is a win for neurodiverse learners.
The idea behind this book is it's a resource that business owners, managers, educators, parents, anyone encouraging young professionals and wanting to help them carve out a roadmap to success. That is the design of this book. It's easy to read, short chapters, there's diagrams and those kinds of things, but it will be of mutual benefit to organizations and employees as well. And I think once the word gets out, employers will be handing these out by the dozens.
We got to send Katie Smith off after a very successful 2-year stint as the president of the association.
We're a second generation family business, and this industry has always provided for my family. So for me, I volunteer because the relationships that I'm able to build with RIA, they're just invaluable to me, and they help me in my business all the time.
It was really cool to see at the 2024 convention record-breaking numbers for attendance. I like to say it's big enough that you start to grasp how big our industry is, but at the same time, it's small enough where it's still intimate. I feel like these might be the golden years where the industry is going to continue to grow. I believe 30% of the attendees were first-timers. They had never been to a convention before. So that, as that energy and momentum spreads and the things that RIA and the AGA and all of the volunteers are accomplishing continues to spread and grow, there'll be more and more people involved, and it'll be awesome to see it grow. But this is a time when you can get involved when it still has that feel.
We really want to touch on all the ways that the RIA has been working to unite the industry and to speak together as one voice for the restoration contractor. So being involved is just a big deal to me. But then the convention is just a time where you can learn. There's a lot of top-notch education. It's just some of the best sessions and keynote speakers and the networking opportunities where you finally have a chance to get in person and just bounce ideas off of someone. We're all dealing with the same problems in our business.
We welcome Ben Looper in as the new president of RIA for 1 year. Our president-elect is Mr. Jeff Moore, who's president of ATI Restoration.
Great story, compelling and rich.
Thank you for tuning in to the DYOJO Podcast. We hope you were informed.
Yeah, so I've learned something here.
And entertained.
Are you not entertained?
DYOJO.com/podcast. You can buy Jon a beer, you can support the show, or you can buy one of the books I've written. The last one being How to Suck Less at Estimating.
What am I supposed to do with that?
And you can find them on Amazon.
There's nothing like it out there.
Again, the majority of this background content was me and Ed at the 2024 RIA convention in Dallas. And I believe the clip with me and Ron Alford, Alfie, was at the 2023 convention in Florida. So both of those have a fair amount of background noise.
This sucks.
But here, Ed and I are wrapping up our conversation from Dallas. As you can hear in the background, the noise, the hustle and bustle from another sold-out, record-breaking restoration industry event. What is it? Educate, advocate, and elevate, right?
That's it. That's the mission.
When a business owner or a homeowner is impacted by disaster, a lot of people come out of the woodworks claiming to be capable of doing everything. As Ron Alford says, don't worry, no problem. We can take care of everything. So how do you determine, or if you're learning this business, how do you upgrade your knowledge and your skills? In his book, How to Win the Insurance Game, Ron Alford talks about competent versus incompetent contractors.
I'm Ron Alford.
He rates them in 4 categories. Class D, if you're looking to hire a contractor or you're trying to elevate your skills as a contractor. Class D, articulate, incompetent. Class D folks are the most dangerous you can find, and yet these make up the bulk of contractors. These are the ones who talk a good game and end up taking you down with them as they fail to produce the results needed to complete 100% of the job. What they can produce is a second disaster with their incompetence. So somebody who's able to sell, but maybe not able to do everything that they say they're capable of doing. Class C, inarticulate, incompetent. Class C folks are obviously innocuous because they cannot sell things and they cannot do things. They take themselves out of the running.
The wannabes.
I would say, though, sometimes inarticulate, incompetent can lure people in on one other metric, and that's price. If their price is lower, some people are willing to forego the other, yellow, orange, red flags. And sometimes you get not just what you pay for, but, what you don't trust, what the situation is telling you when you're getting some of those hindrances to hiring someone. Class B, inarticulate, competent. Class B folks are generally the ones who are capable of doing the work. However, they are very poor at communicating their talents. Ron says most contractors are articulate, incompetent, meaning they're more salespeople than they are producers. But we find a lot of contractors who are skilled at what they do, maybe don't have the best bedside manner, maybe don't have the best presentation, they don't have the flashy website, maybe their truck's not the nicest. They're learning how to run the business. They have the commitment and the skills and the capacity to do it, but maybe don't have the polish. And so as a consumer, sometimes don't just, the flashy people that have the slick sales pitch aren't always the ones that can actually do the work. And sometimes the people that don't do the best job of explaining it can be the ones that actually know what they're doing. And then Class A is articulate, competent. Class A people are able to look at your problem, talk with you about it, provide a detailed bid, undertake the work, and complete it on time without hidden extras or arguments. Ron argues the fact is that only about 5% of all contractors are Class A. So for the consumers, deciphering between what they're bringing to the table as far as scope and cost and competency, actual ability to get the job done. And then for you contractors, upgrading not just your skills, your technical skills, but those soft skills or those market skills that help you communicate what you're trying to present to the customer in a way that is tangible. What else are you looking forward to, Ed?
Oh my gosh, there's so much going on right now, but I think
a nap.
No, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Yeah, I think the movement is that the pricing paradigm is shifting, and name one other sector in the construction industry where prices are set by a third party. Doesn't exist. And so restorers need to customize their prices, just like Aaron Bronco, the president of Veris Property Estimating Solutions, just said on stage in front of 1,200 people at the sold-out Restoration Industry Convention here in beautiful Dallas, Texas. DYOJO Podcast, over and out.
So long, Charlie.
Yeah.
I'm done.
What the industry needs is conversations like this.
Thursdays are for DYOJO Podcast.
What are you, stupid? Mindset change.
Helping contractors shorten their dang learning curve.
Once you get to the point where you're not willing to listen or not willing to learn, you pound sand.
DYOJO Podcast.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Complete hogwash.